hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Controlling me, ooh. Hey guys, welcome. I'm Brent Thomas, and this is the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I hope you're enjoying yourselves and have had a wonderful day up to this point. I guess people are piling in still, but I thought, well, let's roll and just let them catch up. So it's Tuesday. Things are rolling. It's been a good day, really productive day. A lot of things getting done, a lot of things growing and changing, and it's really cool, but it's a lot to keep up with. But Don and I are doing our best, and so far so good. But hope you guys are doing great, and I hope you're ready because, well, it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are. It's the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm still Brent Thomas, and I got to make sure I didn't miss something. Oh, okay. I just wrote my mom a message because apparently there's a new scam going around, and it's kind of an obvious one. But anyway, and it's not really paranormal. But I think it's a good thing to warn people about it. And the thing is that people are receiving calls from a representative claiming to be from, I don't know, Social Security Administration, saying that your Social Security number has been suspended. So, and then they ask you to verify your number to get it reactivated and stuff. Well, let me tell you, first of all, don't ever give out anything over the phone, obviously, but essentially it's just a scam. The Social Security Administration is never going to suspend your Social Security number unless you've done something heinously wrong. I can't even imagine a how or why, because I don't know. I've just never heard of anybody losing their Social Security number. But it is the latest kind of scam going around. If you feel that you've been a victim of it, please contact somebody to help you out. But if you do get a call like that, hang up. Don't talk to these people. They don't deserve your time or your energy, unless you want to just troll the hell out of them, keep them on the line and act stupid for about 20 minutes. I've done that many times. That's actually a good time. I did the old man. I did the old man to one guy and had him going for about 20 minutes until he finally just chuckled and hung up, because I just act like I didn't understand what he was saying or misunderstood him and kept repeating things back wrong. And it was hard to keep a straight face while I was doing it, but it was a good time. And I think they were asking for donations for something. And I'm like, no, I don't need no donations. We're doing just fine. Thank you. It made me howl. I after I got done, I sat and rolled for about 20 minutes. It was great fun. And the guy obviously just gave up. So anyway, enough about me. Welcome to the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And I got hopefully some great stories pulled up for you guys, but we will find out together how I did. I think I did okay, but I think I got an eyelash in my eye. Anyway, let's see how I did. Coming to California, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, let's see what's going on in California. It says, I heard this story from my grandparents, and there's a girl who checked in a hotel in California. Wait, this is an Eagles song. I think I know this song, but that's how it starts. It's called Salvang with her parents, and this wasn't any ordinary hotel. It was the Tower Hotel, and well, they walked up a couple staircases because it was it was the tippy top. When they arrived, the parents said, "We have to go get dinner," so they ran out of the room, leaving the girl standing there crying. What? Come on. This is no way. No parents. You could not love your child and go, hey, mom and I are going to get food. See you later. And leave the kid. So already this sounds like a bunch of bunk. But anyway, they went through the drive-thru and went back to the road. And there was a man who was driving a car, but he wasn't young. He looked like he was in his 90s. And, well, the lady totally lost control and took the wheel from her husband and crashed into his car. They both died, including the old man, but that is just life. You live and die. But this occasion wasn't. She meant to crash into the car, damaging the right front car door. Anyway, you ask about the girl? She was waiting for her parents to return, but they hadn't because they died, and they say the girl died of a broken heart. And from now on, you can see her looking out the window, waiting for her parents to return. Of course, that's in the suite she stayed in. Time you can see her is around 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I know this because my parents checked in that certain hotel and got teased because these teenagers checked into that room and they were telling them, watch out, the ghost will get you. And as they walked up the staircases, and they say they were so scared, they ran out of that room and demanded a refund. They never returned. And they said the girl looked like a shadow moving in slow motion with sound effects. Crying, moaning, and screams. This is a warning to all of you. Don't check into the top of the Tower Hotel in California. Salvang. I don't know why it's saying Salvang. Salvang, there might be an unexpected guest. I don't know what Salvang means, but they're saying Salvang a couple of times throughout the course of the story. I don't know what it means. I'm going to go with $500 on Urban Legends. I don't think that's a true story at all. But anyway, it comes up, I read them, and we discuss. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. Excuse me. The next one's coming from Mississippi. And this is the state, not the river, but the river runs through it. So what do? My name is, it says, India Garman. Okay. And I've had the same recounting dream since I was about 8 years old, and I'm now 21. When I was younger, it used to chase me around my grandfather's yard. Now keep in mind that the land we lived on was owned by former slave owners. When I became 12, it started to get worse. It would only happen every once in a while, and when it did, I could see my body get up, move into my kitchen or the front door of our own house, just to come upon a loud laughing noise like whatever had been after me all these years knew I was terrified. When I would wake up, I couldn't move, scream, or anything, and I would just lay there in the worst fear of my life until I finally got the nerve to move my hand and to yell to my mom. The worst part is sometimes I would think I was awake and scream for her and nothing would come out of my mouth. And he would just laugh at me. Every time this would happen, no matter where I was, I would go to my mother, and it seemed as if every time I was with her, the demon would never come back. It seems as if the only time it comes to me is when I'm really stressed out, vulnerable, or really sick, like it knows that I can't do anything to stop it. I've tried everything, praying, singing, and sometimes it will help, but like the people who experience know that too, even achieve this task is extremely difficult. I just had another encounter last night, but I don't get as scared for some reason this time because a very close friend of mine had told me about sleep paralysis. So this time, when it started, that loud ringing noise in my ear, I knew it was coming, but it stopped because this time I was curious. I just decided about an hour ago to what this was, look up what this was, and I ran across this page for a reason. So I thought I was the only one that saw them or could hear the out loud laughs or even the ringing noises in my ear, preparing me for what was going to happen. I'm so happy I'm not alone. It seems the older I get, the worse it gets. My childhood chaser decided since I would learn ways to get out of its grasp, it wants to choke me, and I don't know what to do. I can't move, but my mind is a powerful thing, and I will fight and figure this out. And I know someone that is way more powerful than this childhood demon, my Lord and Savior. Keep me in your prayers, as I will keep you in mine. God bless. Huh. Yeah, the sleep paralysis just sucks. It's such a horrible, horrible thing. All right. Let's go to South Carolina and see what's going on there. And welcome everybody that's here. I see you guys are still coming in. And the phone line is open, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to call in, 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So if you got something you want to share, I'm all ears. So this one is South Carolina. The experience I was about to talk about is my worst yet. I was at work, and we have 5 bases that we work at throughout Chesterfield County, and this incident took place at Base 2. Since this experience, a lot of my coworkers have had experience also, and a local paranormal group out of Lancaster came to investigate this particular base that I'm going to talk about. We work in 24-hour shifts. My coworker and I that I worked at this base had been working together for about 2 weeks now. The first week, one night, I thought he was in his room crying, and I finally got the nerve to ask him why he was crying the night before and if he was okay, and he looked at me like I was absolutely crazy and said he had not been crying at all. Nonetheless, time passed, and one shift, we had been running our behinds off. It says out behinds, but I'm sure they mean hour. And we finally got in around 2 a.m., and so I decided to crash. I remember feeling like someone was standing over me when I all of a sudden had awoken for some unknown reason. I chalked this up to the fact that my face was right up against the wall, so I turned my head. I was lying on my belly, and I noticed that I wasn't dreaming because the alarm clock said it was 3:21 a.m. And I remember thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I need to get back to sleep in case another call drops. So as I process this thought, I go to turn over on my back, and I can't. I know that sounds strange, but that's the only way I can explain it. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm just dreaming. So I look at the alarm clock to make sure that I'm awake, and I am. I try to move again, but this time, though, it feels as if someone is literally lying on the back of me, holding me in place. I can't even move my head anymore, and I try to call out for my partner, but nothing comes out of my mouth. I keep trying, and I've started crying because I'm petrified and don't understand why I can't move. Finally, a scream of my partner's name came out of my mouth. Apparently, I screamed so loud that it scared him, and he fell out of his bed getting to me. He opens the door to ask me what's wrong, and I tell him I can't move and there is something holding me down. He said there's nothing on me, and I told him to turn on the light. He does. He sits on the bed because he realizes I'm serious because I'm crying. When he sits down beside me, I was able to move, and I can't even tell you how fast I got the hell out of that room. I'm not sure, but I think I knocked him out of my way doing so. I can honestly say that this is the most scary feeling I've ever experienced. I sat on the couch in the day room, and he came over, and I told him what happened, and it was then he decided to tell me of everyone's experiences of this same base. I make him stay on the couch with me with all the lights on until 8 in the morning when our shift ended. Excuse me. I still refuse to even go to this room during the daylight time. Hardly anyone sleeps in this room. There's so much that happens in this building that it is amazing in itself. Don't get me wrong, I thought maybe it was my imagination and that it was the disorder where you wake up before your body actually realizes that you're awake, but my gut feeling knows what happened. I don't believe anything otherwise. I've seen apparitions too lately, and I do want to say that I'm not alone, nor am I crazy having all these things happen to me. I try to embrace all my experiences, but sometimes I get caught up in all the skeptics who give you another way of looking at what has happened. Any comments will be gladly accepted. What do you think? Have any of you had this type of experience? Again, sleep paralysis sucks. That's what our official position on the Paranormal Portal is in regards to sleep paralysis, ladies and gentlemen. It sucks. It's terrible. It's horrible. I have experienced that, and I can tell you, if you haven't experienced it, it's kind of like being buried alive. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like you can't move. It feels like you're held in a position, and it's like you don't have control of your own body, and it's horrible. It's just a horrible thing. All right. So now we're going to Vermont. This is a real short one. Real short one, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I was just checking chat out to see what I was missing. All right. Vermont. The first encounter was about 2 years ago. I laid on my side. This is about haunted places. Excuse me. I laid on my side facing my wall, my back turned away from the door, and I just hit sleep mode when I heard a scratch on my mattress and a little girl laughing in the hallway. I asked my sister the next morning if it was her, and she swears on her grave that it wasn't, and that she heard it as well. The second encounter, my cat and I were sleeping when a big bang awoke us. I looked up and saw a silver thing floating in the middle of my room. Then it dimmed out, and I looked at my cat, and she was looking straight at it with her eyes opened. The next few were with my friend and my sister. We were setting up cups pretending to go to bed, so if the ghost was around us, she would trip over the cups. We were pretending to sleep when we heard a sigh of a girl, and another day, when she came over, a light up die kept lighting up, and we weren't touching it. About a few weeks later, we were recording near my attic in my room because we believed that's where the ghost lived. It's nailed shut, so each time she comes over, we try to open it. And we record an Australian accent saying, "What do you want to do, mate?" Something hovered over my friend's head that night. And that's the whole catalog of that experience. I don't know. Silver things. Sorry about that. I'm just clearing the pipes, I guess. All right, Louisiana. My boyfriend Rob and I have always been open-minded and believed in the paranormal. We've lived together in a small 2-bedroom house in Louisiana for just over a year, and Rob lived in the house for a year before I'd actually moved in. So for him, this makes it just over 2 years. When I moved in, Rob had an Australian shepherd named Stetson, who was deaf. From the beginning, Rob would wake to find Stetson barking and growling and baring his teeth in the same corner of the living room at nearly the same time every night. Remember, Stetson is deaf, so he wasn't barking at anything he heard. Rob found it alarming because Stetson is a very docile dog. Each night he would carefully console Stetson and return to bed. And as Rob began to get to know the neighbors, the woman next door asked if he was aware of what had taken place in his house. Obviously, he wasn't. The woman informed him that just months before, a young man lived in the house with his girlfriend, and one day he returned home to find her in bed with another man. Oh, no. After he found them, the woman and her lover took off in his car. The man was so distraught over losing his girlfriend that he put a gun to his head and committed suicide, or so it's believed. The woman told Rob the story and said that she awoke the night of the suicide to a knock at her door from the police at 2 a.m. She also claims that she witnessed the scene of the crime, even assisted in cleaning up and repainting, and she believed that the man was shot in the bathroom but somehow ended up in the second bedroom where he died. She also claims that the cheating girlfriend was once questioned as a suspect for the murder of her boyfriend, but the case was never solved and no one was convicted. I moved in during January of 2007. In March of 2007, our friend Jeremy moved into the second bedroom before deploying to Iraq, and Jeremy's room is the site of the man's death, and there's a constant smell within the room that is difficult to describe. We've steam vacuumed, air freshened, opened windows, done everything we could think of, but it just continues to smell. It smells damp and earthy. Before Jenny knew the story of the man who died, or Jeremy rather, knew the story of the man who died in the house, he started telling us that at night he would feel his bed shake from underneath, as if someone was punching the floor up into his bed. He had the type of bed that sat very low to the floor, and needless to say, we told him the story. Other happenings include the closet door in the hallway between the bathroom and the second bedroom. The man would have walked right in front of it, and things in the closet crashed to the floor. Heavy things like televisions, and the doors always opening and closing. At the moment, it's broken off the hinges, lights go on and off, and once an entire 6-foot bookshelf came crashing to the floor, shattering glass items on the shelf. And Rob and I were both on the couch nowhere near the shelf. While passing the living room to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, Rob and I have seen the figure of a man sitting on the couch, staring at the wall. When we look again, he is gone. Rob has seen a shadow pass in front of our alarm clock so that the numbers went completely black for a moment. Small statues on our shelves have been turned completely backward, and we've seen someone cross in front of the bathroom door while we shower. We heard inexplicable music, bangings, knockings, thumps. We always feel people watching, but no one is ever there. There's another thing that I should mention. There's a full-body apparition of a tall, elderly man with silver hair in a black suit and a red tie. At times he carries a matching black hat, but I've never seen him wear it. The strange thing is that he can't be the man who died in the house. The man who died was around 19, and this man was nearly 70, it seems. I was the first to see him, and one night I wasn't feeling well and was sitting on the bathroom floor in front of the toilet. The bathroom is small, and there are no windows, so no shadows are cast into it. And suddenly I felt a chill and looked up to see the old man standing in the doorway, blocking the entry, with his arms folded across his chest. His build nearly filled the entire door frame. He's very tall. I didn't feel threatened, but taken aback. I felt as if he just wanted me to be aware of his presence. He was only there for a few seconds, and one night I heard whispering, which elevated into what sounded like a party in the 20s or 30s, and I heard faint swing music. I got up and went to each room, listened near the windows, opened the front and back doors to listen and see where it was coming from, and each time it died down. There wasn't any music. The moment I put my head back on my pillow, I would hear it faintly again. I finally fell asleep, feeling psychotic. The man Rob and I have both witnessed on the couch is this elderly man. Before I told Rob of the man standing in the doorway, he had a dream that he was walking through an old house and saw the same man walk past the doorway and point to the outlines of various crosses that had been burned into the wall. Rob is a crazy sleeper. He talks, tosses, turns, does all kinds of things. And that night I remember him pointing to the wall and speaking gibberish. I laughed and went to sleep, and the next morning he told me about the dream and of the man. I nearly died. We had both seen him. After that, he's been everywhere. We finally mustered up the courage to tell the woman next door about the ghost in our house, and she was surprised and said that a friend of hers was taking pictures in an abandoned house across the street and caught the silhouette of an old man in dark clothing and a hat. We've come to believe that the man may have owned the land long before these houses were built, and we've come to the conclusion that we have a residual haunting because he has never seemed aware of our presence. He also looks as if he lived a few decades in the past, and his suit is very traditional and very simple looking. He isn't active too often and never feels threatening or scary, but Rob and I believe that he was an important man and he wants to continue to feel that way. He may not even realize that he's died. We've attempted to do research on both the old man and have attempted to find out the name of the young man who died in the house, but haven't had any success. We'll be moving soon, and it will be kind of sad leaving our ghost or ghosts behind. It's been quite an experience. And that's a cool way to look at it, I guess. If you got to deal with a ghost, if it's not harming and threatening and just being maybe a little rambunctious, I guess that's not too horrible. Depends on what you want to put up with. I mean, if knocking stuff over drives you nuts, then you probably don't want it. But if it seems like a neat phenomenon to you, then it might be kind of cool to sit back and see what you could learn. I don't know. All right, so the next one is Alabama. Alabama. My best friend, and I will call her Anna, and I met, and we were both in the same 4th grade class at a local private Catholic school. When we were in the 5th grade, Anna, who was an only child and who lived with her mother, moved out of her condo and into a newer condo complex. The condo was built like a townhouse, with 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths on 2 levels. It had probably been built somewhere in the 1970s, and the condo itself was nice enough and amenities-wise, but the first time I ever went into that house, I immediately noticed how completely awful it felt inside there. Later, my mom, who still does not fully believe what happened there, would admit that she also found the house really creepy. It seemed to be unnaturally dark in there, and it was just had this really miserable feeling that even permeated the front and back porches. The feeling was not depressed as much as it was just ugly. That's the best word I can use to describe the way this condo felt. Things began to happen immediately. All of Anna's cats turned up missing, and I believe there were 3 in all, and one had been hit by a car in front of the condo, and this is actually really weird because the front door faced a parking lot with speed bumps everywhere. I have a hard time imagining managing to hit a cat in that place. Anna's also had several pet cockatiels, and at some point, they decided to give the birds to her grandmother because she and her mother were afraid that the birds may die also. The birds were really loud, and after they had been removed from the house, you could still hear them chirping from the room where they had been in. I witnessed this myself and found it really particularly creepy. I often spent the night with Anna on the weekends, and we all stayed in the same room together, Anna, her mom, and me, and we would hear footsteps going up and down the stairs or banging noises in the attic, and Anna and I took showers together in swimsuits because the almost nauseated feeling of being watched was the worst in the shower. Frequently, we would be awoken from our sleep. Anna and I slept in her mom's king-size bed, and her mom there, to loud breathing and growling noises that seemed to be right by our ears. That is so terrible. Ugh. One evening, the 3 of us were in the living room watching the television, and we had left the light on in the upstairs bathroom, and Anna's mother asked us to run upstairs and turn it off. We always went everywhere in the house in pairs, particularly at night, and I followed behind Anna a few steps as we climbed the stairs, and when I got to the first landing, her mother asked me a question. I turned to answer her as Anna continued up the second flight of stairs, and suddenly Anna screamed and rushed past me back down the stairs. I followed her down, and she was crying, but as she explained, not from fear or any emotion, but from pain. Her eyes were red and bloodshot and full of tears. She said that she had looked up the top of the stairs into the hall, and suddenly a huge and brilliant whoosh of light came at her and burned her eyes. I personally didn't see anything, and as a consequence, didn't really believe her, but looking back, it was pretty obvious that something had happened to Anna. I went ahead upstairs to turn off the bathroom light, and Anna went to the couch. Her mom told me not to worry about it, but I felt exhilarated and a little nervous and actually wanted to go see if there was anything up there. And I told her I would be quick. I darted down the hall to the bathroom, and as I passed the guest bedroom door, which was open, I peeked inside, and I was facing a stand-up mirror. And inside the mirror, I could see small bluish balls of light floating around in the reflection. Other things happened, including a cyclone of floating garbage from the can in the kitchen. Anna described seeing a ghostly face in a table fan in her bedroom, and the fan had been on full speed and just stopped cold, and the face appeared. And there were also foul odors and smells that would seem to float all over the house. That's not a good sign. You know, there is something about ghosts having an odor, and generally it'll be an odor like they had in life, like a perfume or a cigar or pipe smoke or something. But when you get to the foul smelling odors, that's usually a really bad sign. That means that they're stinking for a reason, you know? So Anna's mother was not wealthy, so they were not able to move immediately, though they did eventually leave as soon as her mom was able to find another place for them to live. In the meantime, her mother began to look for ways to deal with the phenomena. Obviously, her first stop was the Catholic Church, where Annie and I attended grade school, and through our archdiocese it says, though our archdiocese has an exorcist priest, the church seemed reluctant to get involved. Anna did, however, started taking holy water home several times a week. Her mom was losing patience, though, and asked Baptist minister to come and take a look at the house. The man came, and while he was there, they heard what sounded like heavy footsteps crashing upstairs, and then it sounded like something crashed through the ceiling and hit the floor in the living room where they were sitting. The thing then ran across the room and threw itself through the living room picture window, and they all heard these sounds, including glass breaking, but nothing physically had actually happened. The Baptist minister literally ran out of the house and left, never to be heard from again. So is the strength of your faith. Eventually, the exorcist priest did come to the house, and while he was there, something grabbed Anna's leg and yanked her out of her chair and dragged her across the floor. The priest did witness this. By this time, Anna's mother had learned a bit about the house. Apparently, an old woman had died after having been pushed by her own daughter down the stairs, and some of the neighbors had heard rumors that before the old woman had lived there, strange people had gatherings in the house in the middle of the night. None of this really explained what was going on in the condo, however. It wasn't some big cinematic revelation like you see on TV when they discovered an Indian burial ground or some such thing. The priest asked Anna's mother if she had done anything to the house when they had moved in, or if she had noticed anything odd about the house itself because the phenomena. Her mother recalled a small metal plaque that had been hung in the threshold of the front door. It had been in a language she was not familiar with. I had seen the plaque too when they had first moved in, and it was about the size of a credit card, and the letters were in relief, and Anna's mother produced the plaque, and the priest identified it as a Hebrew blessing. He spent some time in the house and eventually diagnosed the condo as being infested with something like 9 separate demons. And he then replaced the plaque inside the door frame, and within a week, the condo was exorcised by the Catholic Church. I don't know what happened during this time, only her mother was present when the exorcism took place. Anna stayed with her grandmother. The exorcism was successful for the most part. No more major incidents occurred in that house, although I still had that ugly aura about it. Also, the bad smells and unnatural shadows lingered on, and they moved from the condo less than a year later, and to this day, Anna doesn't like to talk about what had happened when we were children. I can't say I blame her either. And here's the thing, that the fact that that aura remains is probably a sign that whatever was quote unquote exercise is not quite gone. It's probably in a, this is me hypothesizing, so don't take this as gospel, but it's probably just been pushed into a state of stasis of a sort, being pushed into a dormancy state. A lot of exorcisms are not successful forever. Most of them aren't, as I understand it, but they're successful for a period of time and may allow people to move out or get out or whatever. I don't know if I should say most, but quite a few are not actually successful. In dealing with exorcists, you're dealing with several factors, and one of which is just the fact that just because someone wears a collar doesn't mean that they are a pious person. So if you're dealing with a person who is corrupt in their soul as well, just doing all kinds of shenanigans and stuff and forsaking that religion, then whatever words they use and whatever they cast towards these spirits is going to be kind of like throwing Q-tips at a Rottweiler. It's not going to mean a whole lot. Because when it comes to religion, it's all about faith. It's all about the strength of your faith. If you have, the faith of a mustard seed, right? And that's true for all religion. Whatever you practice, it's not the sole domain of Christianity. It's the domain of any religion, any spiritual practice. The amount that you are committed and believe in it and devote yourself to it is the amount of success you'll have utilizing that system. So you don't know who's coming to your house to exercise just because they have a collar on. We all, of course, would make assumptions saying, well, this is a person that has been ordained and blessed to do this. But is he really? Is he still in that state? And who knows? So you're always at the mercy of the state of the person doing it, and the success will be directly reflected by that. You're also at the mercy of your own state. So if you're already beaten into a sense of fear and weakness, having a priest come and blessing and exercising and stuff may give you a sense of peace, but you've already been dominated by something for so long that you are vulnerable to it. And so it's always best, if you can get an exorcism, great. If you have to stay in the house, get some help emotionally so that you don't still live in those states of fear. You release that fear. You release that emotional charge that makes you susceptible. Because demonic experiences are truly wars of attrition. They happen over a period of months, years. They're not just hey, there's a demon. Oh, it wants my body. It's usually what's wrong with him. He's changed. He doesn't like people anymore. He's isolating himself. Everything about them has changed. If you know anything about human beings, and most of us do, you know that people don't fundamentally change everything about themselves. And if somebody does suddenly fundamentally change everything about themselves, they've either done something absolutely miraculous with their life and committed to some serious change, or they're dealing with something that they can't handle. It depends on the change. But people generally remain the people that they are for the most part. And so if you notice somebody just drastically changing in a negative way, that can be a real warning sign that they're dealing with some sort of oppression. And that's the way it starts. It starts with oppression and works towards possession. And when it's at its worst possible case, a worst possible scenario, it becomes what's known as perfect possession, when there's no recognizable difference between the actual demon and the person's spirit anymore. They've completely melded, and it takes something like Jesus to get rid of it at that point. Really, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm not mocking anybody, but those kind of infestations, those kind of possessions are absolutely can be absolutely deadly. And then there's the other side of it, where if the person isn't strong enough going through the exorcism, they may not be able to survive it. The strain and stress on their bodies and on their souls can sometimes be too much. So, anyway, I hope none of y'all ever deal with something like that. That's all I'm saying. All right, so the next story, is going to be North Carolina. We're going to North Carolina. How are we doing on time? Let's see what we're doing here. Howdy, Brown Dwarf. Hey, Brown Dwarf. Good to see you. Welcome. MCAT, good to see you. Pam, Orange County girl, good to see you. Diana, hello, Diana. Good to see you. I missed you. T-Fetch, it's about time you showed up, T-Fetch. Let's see, who else is here? Duke is here. Brown Dwarf, D, Diana, Gemini Moon, Jess is here. MCAT is here. Orange County girl, Pam is here. I'm here. Rand Electric is here. And T-Fetch is here. Outstanding. Aussie Tiger, I didn't even see your name in that list. And Bigfoot in Germany, hello, guys. Good to see you. T-Fetch is in the house. Darn right he better be. About time he showed up. You got to pay the rent, brother. It's good to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. So, how long have I been at this? I didn't even look yet. The last two stories were incredibly long. Oh, we got time for a few more. We're good. We're good. All right, let's see what's going on in North Carolina. This story is actually my first experience in becoming a ghost hunter. Wow. Okay. It was a cold night in February of this year, and this year, by the way, is 2008, so this is not a new story. My brother-in-law tells me of a place he calls Ash Manor. He tells me about how it used to be a nice rest home, but it was abandoned now, and he tells me about what happened when his girlfriend took him there to experience some paranormal activity. A piano had played when nobody was touching it. So we go to this place, and I start asking if there's a presence around that would like itself to be known, and also other provoking questions as well. We brought an old Ouija board with us. Oh, no. And we asked it who was haunting this building. The board gave us answers that we later found in file cabinets about a woman who died there named Betty Davis. She died of eating a bad fawn hamburger that made her very ill and supposedly actually killed her. We found her room and sat on her bed and talked with her through the board, and she was friendly through the board. After playing Ouija, I promise I don't use this anymore. Good for you. We were getting ready to leave because it was getting dark. Noises were here and there, but nothing really unusual other than the creaks of the walls and such. And until my husband says, "This place isn't haunted. Let's leave. We wasted our time." The moment he spoke, the last word of that sentence, a loud bang on the wall happened right behind him. We all three heard it, and I asked the presence if I could take a picture of it. And the only picture that supports the paranormal activity is a picture I took of my brother-in-law near Davis's bed. It looks like a woman looking at him through a purple cup. We went back to this place once more, and the place was wrecked. We figured it had been inhabited by people who party. By the look of all the beer bottles around, the feeling at Ash Manor at this time was very negative, and we all felt that negative energy and decided to leave this place alone. And I say, to the next destination. I think that's the catch line that they used at the end of Ghost Hunters. Or it was like, on to the next. Yeah. Something like that. Jason would always say that. All right. So cool. I got time for a few more. A few if it's short. One or two if it's long. I don't ever know how long they are until after I open them, so we'll find out. I'm opening 3 more. This one's not too long. This one's coming from Alaska. I've had a few experiences ever since I moved into my current house. Though not all of them have occurred here, I'm Christian, so I don't believe in ghosts as much as I believe in demons, but sometimes I catch myself doubting that fact in itself. A few years ago, possibly 2 or 3, but I can't remember, the blanket I had over my window was taken down in preparation for my blinds to be fixed and actual curtains to be put in place. One night while my window was unblocked, I woke up and sat up in bed and saw a dark figure of a woman standing at the end of my bed looking out the window. Almost as soon as I sat up, the woman looked at me. I couldn't see any definite features except for the bright yellow gold eyes she had that I focused in on instantly, but I could definitely tell she was solid because the light was shining on her. Then almost as immediately as I stood up, I fell back again against my pillows and fell asleep. All while the woman was staring at me. The next thing I remembered was my mom opening my door and telling me that I had to wake up. I didn't experience anything else until a year ago when I had a dream that I was in my school cafeteria and saw a dark boy sitting off by himself. And I didn't notice at the time, but he resembled the woman who was at my window. Greatly. He resembled it greatly. So I sat down next to him and started to talk to him. And when I asked him his name, he smiled at me and wrote on a piece of paper his name, which was Ty, T-Y-E. To this day, I still remember the elegant way his scrawly handwriting looked on the paper. The next thing I knew, I was walking down the hall when I saw a painting of a shadow with gold eyes that I instantly knew was Ty. And I ran back to the cafeteria where I found all the lights off and everyone cowering on the floor, all trying to get away from noises that came from the ceiling. And all I could do was look up and think about how I knew it was Ty. I woke up a second later, also to my mom telling me to get up. Ever since then, I've only talked about these shadows 3 times. Once to my mom, and while we were watching a Sylvia Browne special on Montel. You remember Montel? Montel show, yeah, I remember that. Though I only told her about the woman. And then a close friend while we were at camp, and then another friend in her room. The first friend joked about how I would probably meet Ty someday, and we'd fall in love, but that night I heard voices after lights out, and I can't help but wonder if there's something about these shadows that is real. And I'm both curious and scared of this. Has anyone experienced anything like this? Nope, I haven't. I have not experienced that. All right, Indiana is next, ladies and gentlemen. After dealing with the unknown for years, we finally decided to get a hold of a local paranormal investigative team to check out what was going on in our home and with our kids. I emailed several teams in the area and was put in contact with a man who was branching out from the team that had trained and nurtured him, and were all excited that he would be able to come out to the house so quickly. He's building his own clientele, and we would be amongst his first. We thought ourselves really lucky to have found a paranormal investigator who was eager to get into our home quickly and assessed what was going on around us. I do not know who was more anxious, myself, for thinking we would finally have concrete answers, whether it be that we were experiencing mass hallucinations or if there was something here didn't matter. I wanted answers to what we have been living through for years. Or our daughter, who wanted proof that she is not crazy. She needed that in black and white. I wrote some friends with this information, and I let them know that we were to have an investigation on the first weekend, and all of the family was off work. I told them of the new occurrences and invited them all to share in the experience from afar as they burned the fires of truth for us while this was going on. We felt that for everyone's safety and the advice of my husband's medicine man, we do not know what is going on. Perhaps they should stay in their homes and provide their support from there. A few red flags started going up all over the email page on our computer and in our home. My son said a man with shades on his eyes was going to come to the house and make things hard on us. A newer friend of mine who is psychic and seems extremely knowledgeable, therefore her words carried a heavy weight, said that it was odd that we were able to get an investigator so soon and that it oftentimes takes months to get things rolling. I decided to do a bit more investigating on him to see if there was something else that we should be aware of. In the meantime, this man came to our home with an assistant. one more man who was on the way, but he had to stop and pick up more film and was running behind, so the first two men started out without him. The investigator walked around outside the structure to get a feel of the place and to see if there was anything that could be causing the internal noises that are often heard. Finding nothing but an old man sitting on the front porch, he headed inside. It was amusing, really. The neighborhood stood outdoors watching the parade of people following around this long-haired cowboy boot bull rider hat with feather-wearing man and his assistant. The neighborhood has watched us do some interesting things, and we seem to have the support of most of them. My next-door neighbor actually came over when I was placing a circle of salt around the home as we were moving in and wanted to help. We try not to be obvious, but some things are just not easy to hide. When we got indoors, the investigator explained that he would like to do a walkthrough with just himself and his companion, but that he wanted us all to do what we normally do and where we normally do it. So I began supper, my daughter went to her room, my son to his, and my hubby hit the computer room. We all engrossed in what we were doing, but still had a little time to watch the men as they walked through. The house isn't big, so they had to pass us all a few times. In the children's wing of the home, the television was flickering on and off every 5 minutes, and their portable radio was going through stations. My daughter's closest closet door was almost vibrating. It was just shaking a bit, not opening or closing, just moving. My son's room had a blue light in the corner of the ceiling, and that is the wall that connects to his sister's closet that seemed to be either gradually growing in strength or decreasing. Doing what we normally do, my daughter asked whatever it was to please stop. She was trying to do her homework. The third man finally showed up, and I almost did not let him in. My son's warning was at the forefront of my mind as I looked at this young man on the other side of my sliding glass door. He was wearing sunglasses and a big cowboy hat. When the other two men walked in the dining room behind me, they told me he was with them and he was all right. So I did let him in. On the computer, my husband was going through the mail and was reading through the answers to my inquest about this man and his defect from his original team. The information was not comforting, and if I would have had this information before they all arrived, I would have canceled. But it was too late for that, so we continued on. When they left, we were told that our place was active, and when they came back, they would bring the rest of the equipment and begin to shut a few doors and let those free that would go. They felt that perhaps a few would stay as they had a close connection to the children and it might be detrimental to them. What? How was that possible? An existence surrounded by peace or an existence stuck here on earth? Which of these choices would honestly be the most detrimental? Since they have left, we have had what I can only describe as an explosion of activity. Musical toys go off without warning, toys that are put away up in closets so that little hands cannot reach them are out in the morning. Cell phones have messages on them from us. I mean, they sound like they are our voices that we didn't send. My son sees a figure that is only visible from the waist down. Photographs are taken in the home are not photo albumable. The dryer opens and slams in the middle of the night. My husband has a little girl's hand softly placed on his forearm as he sleeps and has heard her say, "I love you, Daddy." And most disturbingly, I've begun to see little shadows walking past my line of vision about 3 or 4 feet tall. Never having seen anything before, I knew my son was right, and something not good happened with the visit of these 3 men. We smudged our home, we blessed it, cleansed it, chanted over it, and built more fires to smoke out the entities, and then smudged the house again. The lady at the shop that we have been using knows us all by name now, and has been recommending different things for us. The main purpose of my telling this story is to warn those of us who do not have a background in investigating and have never seen an investigator at work. When these men came in, they also appear to have brought with them a band of lost souls. For some reason, the souls have stayed on here, and we've tried to release them, but they are still in that process. Please research the team you choose to come into your home. If you start to see a red flag, remember the color red usually signifies stop. Do not let your eagerness to be a normal family blind you to what could happen, and protect yourself and your family. That's true. You got to be careful, them darn ghost hunters. And it's actually really common, though, in defense of ghost investigators or paranormal investigators, that after any investigation, usually activity is ramped up. And so, you got to do what you got to do if you want some answers. If you've got a haunting, you may want to have it investigated, but just be prepared, because on the other side of that investigation is probably going to be an escalation of activity for a period of time. But just words to the wise. Well, Diana, you made it all night. Thank you, dear. I appreciate that you've been here, and thank you for being here. And William Bennett, good to see you. I'm just looking at Todd Evans. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Who else? Anybody else? I guess that's it. I don't know of any other people that have come in, but I guess that's the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this journey, and I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. So Don will be here, and we'll get into whatever the hell we get into. I can't say for certain what it'll be, but I'm sure it'll be worth a listen. So I hope you guys show up. And tomorrow's episode, of course, is a 2-hour YouTube only episode. So I hope you guys will swing by and be a part of that as well. But I guess that's going to do it for us tonight. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for being here, and, well, sweet dreams.
Woo!